first of all, last year is still like, you still kind of pinch yourself because, and then the last 3 years, look at where the projection for these teams were in the preseason. You had these guys that know the conference like the back of their hand, and they're saying, yeah, we think Albany's the third best team. We think Albany's the fourth best team. And next thing you know, they're cutting down the nets. And then they came back and did it again. And then they're picked, third, and then they come back and do it again. I remember, and this is a really cool moment. After the first championship in 2011 or 12, Peter Hooley's on the court, and he's got his flag over his shoulder, and he's holding the America East Trophy. And I've told the story on air a bunch of times too. He goes to me privately, just him and I. He goes, "I'm gonna have 4 of these when I'm done." And in my head, I'm so happy for him in a moment. In my head, I'm going, all right, you still don't understand as a freshman how hard it is to win a championship. Leaders like Mike Black and Jacob Yachty and those guys, and this kid's projecting himself to have 4 of these. Well, he wins a second, and then I'm like thinking about it, and then he wins a third. And he's got an opportunity to complete this vision that he's had. Albany, for me, it is the perfect, it is team personified. They win a championship with Mike Black, Blake Metcalf, Jacob Yachty, right? They graduate those guys. Then they win a championship with Sam and I'm trying to think of the other seniors on that team. Gary Johnson, DJ Evans, and then those guys graduate. Then they do it with a new crop of new kids. And last year was I thought the culmination of the 3 years to have Peter and Sam, who were there as freshmen, win a championship and send Sam out. And that's going to be the biggest question for me is replacing Sam. Yeah, he was, arguably the best player in the league last year, first team all-conference guy, but he was more than that. It was every single time Albany crossed half court, Sam got a touch. And it was the ultimate, okay, take a breath. Sam has the basketball. This year, it's going to be entirely different. You're going to ask guys to assume roles that they've never had before. The pressure. See, Sam stretches the floor so much because he invited everyone down that you had to either send a double at him or he's going to beat you one-on-one. It just stretched everything out. And now you're going to ask guys like Peter Hooley, Evan Singletary to make more plays on their own without that front court presence as far as scoring. You return an all-conference guy at the 1, an all-conference guy at the 2, and an all-conference guy at the 3. And you return your starting center as well. You return 80 or 9 contributors. It's feasible that this team could go back and win a 4th consecutive championship, which I believe would be a conference record. I feel like that it gives you a layer of confidence that you can't replicate other than going through those situations. Like the hardest metals are always forged by fire. And that's what they went through. And when you have had your back against the wall and you have that fight or flight mentality and a guy goes out there and makes a play and wins the game for you, like Evan wins the game for you at Vermont, Peter wins the game, and Rowley, right, at UNH, you have a trust factor of no matter what happens, we're okay. So they're going to see points of adversity this year, and you're going to have young guys who have never been in that situation, who are going to get minutes, and you're going to have these upperclassmen like Peter, like Evan, like Ray, who say, you know what, we've been here, we'll take a breath, we're going to find a way to figure this out. We will figure it out. We've done it once, we've done it twice, we've done it 3 times, and I think you can't replicate that type of confidence without actually having the experience. They have the experience. So I don't think that it's irreplaceable. When Hooley left, I knew when we showed up at Stony Brook and they said, Peter's not here. There was a moment where real life was colliding with sports and he's gone. And as a broadcaster, you try to detach yourself emotionally from what, the experiences and rigors of the season, because those guys go through that. We don't go through that. But it was hard not to get emotionally caught up, because when you saw the determination at Stony Brook, we go down there to Long Island. I say we. Albany goes down there to Long Island and plays Stony Brook without arguably their best player. And the way that team responded, it was hard not to associate that team and that experience with family, because they were forced to come together and fight for this kid that they love. I mean, Peter's probably the most well-liked kid on the team, the most charismatic kid on the team, and sort of the personality. The team has taken on almost his sort of personality. So to see them respond the way they did, not only at Stony Brook, but the 10, 11 subsequent games that followed, I look back at my partner and I said to Roger, I said, this is something that, you got to remember, Albany started 2-4, 2-5, something like that. I forget offhand. It was 2-6, okay? I remember we went on that road trip to Pennsylvania, and they lose at St. Francis, and then we go to Bucknell and lose, and I think that's what sent us to 2-6. And I said, oh man, I turned to Roger during a commercial break. I said, this could be a long year. We didn't know what we were dealing with. Fast forward a couple weeks, it is truly, sports and life last season were like intertwined like a DNA helix, and it was hard to ignore. And that's, to get back to your question, that's when I knew that team was special. In those 3 weeks following Peter's absence, when you're like, we're dealing with, this is not just a basketball team, it's a basketball family. It's pretty cool. He, I think, got back to recruiting the type of kids that he wanted to coach. And I don't know how many teams, especially at the Division I level, talking full scholarships, and every kid was a star in their high school. Each kid on the team was a great kid, truly. I mean, great grades, great to talk to, no jerks. That's not like that everywhere. He got back to recruiting the kids that he wanted to spend his time with. He's with these kids more than he is his family. So he got back to those kids that were more pliable and moldable pieces of clay, as opposed to maybe something that's more shiny. He maybe would pass on those guys and take a look. I'm going to take this ball of clay and I'm going to make it in 4 years. It's going to look completely different. And I think that's what he started to go back to. Takes a chance on a kid like Peter Hooley, who was lined up to play at my alma mater, St. Rose. I mean, he didn't have any Division I options. Taking kids like that, and then 4 years later, they're some of the best players in the conference. I think him hitting the reset button on some of the ways he was recruiting ended up changing. It gives him more control over the team, and we've learned that he's one of the best schematic coaches in the league, and I'd say at the whole mid-major level in the country. So it gives him more control, like I said, overall power of the situation and manipulating that situation more. And I've learned that the more that he's in control as a coach, the better the team does. Because I've seen the team when they have a star, top 10 scorer in the country, and sometimes it's chaos, and it doesn't always lead to actual success in terms of wins and losses. And that's what I think has changed. I think he's recruiting the type of kids that, he hopes his son grows up and becomes. That's the type of kids that are coming to Albany. It was unbelievable. I mean, this place, Albany doesn't have a professional sports team. We have 2 Division I schools in town. To see this entire community rally around that basketball team last year was unbelievable. To have Albany host a couple years in a row, first of all, I love the new format, letting your success dictate where they play. And hey, if you want to host, go host. Earn it November through January. And this entire community just swallowed up the basketball team. I mean, it's hard to get tickets. Literally, it's hard to get tickets. I don't know when that statement has ever been true, other than a couple years. And that's sort of, it seems like Albany, trajectory-wise, the entire university just keeps to continue to go up. And when you have an event like that last year, that just waters it. You know what I mean? And now it's flourishing. It's almost becoming, it's crazy enough because it wouldn't have made sense 4 years ago. It's almost becoming the expectation that you're going to win championships. You're going to host. And I think that's a testament to the coaching staff that's been here in place, Will and his guys, that they've done that.